Okay, so
we're diving into
we're
some
always
really cool
hearing about
stuff
these like
today.
financial pressures on education,
Non-traditional
especially like when we
All
start
right, so
talking
we're
about,
diving into some really
welcoming
cool stuff
students from
today.
all over the world.
Yeah.
And it almost
Non-traditional
feels like it's just
All right,
purely
so we're diving into
outgrowing,
some really cool
Right,
stuff
right.
today.
We're just spending money sending it out there.
Non-traditional
But what
All
if
right,
that
so we're
wasn't
diving into
actually
some
like
really cool
the
stuff today.
complete picture?
Yeah.
What if there's more
Non-traditional
to it?
Totally.
All right, so
So
we're diving into
today
some really
we
cool
are
stuff today.
diving into some
Non-traditional
honestly
All right,
really
so we're diving
eye-opening
into some really cool
findings
stuff today.
coming out of Germany.
Non-traditional
Interesting.
So
All right,
get this.
so we're diving into some
For
really cool
every
stuff today.
like euro that Germany
Non-traditional
invests in international
All right,
students,
so we're diving
they
into some
actually
really
end up
cool stuff
seeing
today.
about 8 euros back in
Non-traditional
public revenue.
All right, so we're
Wow.
diving
That's
into some
8
really
times
cool
the
stuff
return.
today.
That's huge.
It's wild, right?
Yeah.
So let's unpack this.
All right,
like, how
so
is
we're
that even
diving into some
possible?
really
Well, I think
cool
what's
stuff
super
today.
striking is
Non-traditional
the context.
All right,
right?
so we're diving
This
into
analysis
some really cool
is from the
stuff
German
today.
Economic Institute, the
Non-traditional
IW.
All right,
It was
so we're
commissioned by
diving
the
into some
DAAD,
really
the German
cool stuff
Academic
today.
Exchange Service.
Non-traditional
And as you mentioned, a really important
All right,
piece
so
here
we're
is that
diving into some
a
really
lot of
cool
German
stuff today.
universities, they don't charge
Non-traditional
tuition fees for
All
international
right, so
students.
we're diving into
So
some
this,
really
this
cool
big
stuff today.
financial return
Non-traditional
isn't like built
All right,
on,
so we're
asking
diving
for a lot
into
of money
some
up
really cool
front.
stuff
Right.
today.
It kind of suggests there's something more interesting
Non-traditional
going on here.
All right,
For
so
sure,
we're
it makes you
diving
kind
into
of
some really cool
rethink
stuff
the
today.
traditional way of thinking about
Non-traditional
the
All
economics
right,
of
so we're
international
diving into some
education.
really
Yeah.
cool stuff today.
So what we really want to do in this deep
non-traditional
dive is we're trying to
All right, so
understand
we're diving
the
into some
engine
really cool
behind
stuff
this
today.
eightfold return that Germany's seeing.
Non-traditional
Yeah.
And,
All right, so we're diving
think
into some
about
really
what
cool
lessons
stuff
maybe
today.
other nations or anyone, really anyone who's
All right,
interested
so we're
in
diving
the
into
broader
some really
value
cool stuff
of
today.
investing in education.
Non-traditional
What can we learn from this?
All right, so
Totally.
we're diving into some
Yeah,
really
so at the
cool
heart
stuff
of it,
today.
the
Non-traditional
IW analysis.
All right, so we're
it
diving
says
into some
pretty
really
clearly,
cool stuff
Yeah.
today.
every single year that an
Non-traditional
international student
All right,
is
so
there
we're diving into some
in
really
Germany,
cool stuff today.
they're generating something like 8
Non-traditional
times more
All right, so
for
we're
the
diving
public
into some
coffers
really cool
over the
stuff
long
today.
term than the state is putting in.
Non-traditional
So it's a
All
strong
right,
case
so
for
we're
the
diving into
economic
some really
upside
cool stuff today.
of opening your doors to
Non-traditional
international students.
All right, so we're diving into some really
absolutely.
cool
and
stuff today.
a key piece of this that the
non-traditional
report really highlights
All
is
right,
that
so we're diving into some really
to
cool
get
stuff
this
today.
kind of return, it really depends on how many of those international
All right, so we're
grads
diving into
actually
some really
choose
cool
to
stuff
stay
today.
in Germany, build their
Non-traditional
careers there.
Steady work,
All right,
yeah.
so
Yeah,
we're
like the
diving into some
retention
really
rate.
cool stuff today.
And apparently, if about 40% of these
All right, so we're
grads
diving into some
stick
really
around
cool
their
stuff
contributions through
today.
taxes and just being part of the
Non-traditional
economy,
All right,
they
so we're diving into some
basically pay
really
back
cool
the
stuff
whole
today.
cost of their education in just
Non-traditional
like 3 years after
All
they
right, so
graduate.
we're diving
Wow.
into some really
That's
cool
pretty
stuff today.
fast.
Yeah, that's a quick turnaround for sure.
Non-traditional
That's like, wow.
All right,
It shows
so
you
we're
how
diving into
powerful
some
it
really
is to
cool
keep
stuff
skilled
today.
people around.
Yeah.
Non-traditional
And, the study
All right,
actually
so we're
goes on
diving
to
into
kind
some
of
really
project
cool
some
stuff
pretty
today.
big long-term financial outcomes
Non-traditional
based on
All
what
right,
that
so we're
retention
diving
rate
into
looks
some
like.
really
Okay.
cool stuff
So
today.
at that 40% mark, we're talking a
Non-traditional
net surplus of
All right,
something
so
like
we're diving into some really cool stuff
15.5
today.
billion euros
Non-traditional
Wow.
coming from these
All right,
grads
so
over
we're
their
diving
whole
into
working
some
lives.
really
From
cool
just
stuff
that
today.
40%.
Yeah, it's just from that
non-traditional
40%.
So what
All right,
happens if
so we're
Germany
diving
like
into some really
does
cool
even
stuff today.
better?
Well, the numbers get pretty big.
Okay.
All right,
So
so
let's
we're
say the
diving into
retention
some
rate
really cool
dips
stuff
down to
today.
30%.
Mhm.
The long-term
Non-traditional
positive
All right,
impact
so
is
we're
still
diving into some
estimated
really
to be
cool
about
stuff today.
7.4 billion euros.
All
Okay,
right, so
still
we're
a
diving
lot.
into some
Still a
really
lot,
cool stuff
but
today.
if Germany can get that retention up to 50%,
All right, so we're
the
diving
estimated
into some really cool
surplus
stuff
jumps
today.
way up to 26
Non-traditional
billion euros.
All right, so we're diving into some
So you
really
can see
cool
how
stuff
much
today.
leverage that retention has on the
Non-traditional
whole return
All right,
on
so we're
investment
diving
thing.
into
It's a
some
big
really
deal.
cool
It's a
stuff
big
today.
deal.
So to dig a little deeper into like the
non-traditional
thinking behind
All right,
all of
so
this,
we're diving into some really
we
cool
have a
stuff
quote
today.
here from Professor Dr. Michael
Non-traditional
Huether. He's the director of
All
the
right, so we're
IW.
diving into
Right.
some
And
really
he
cool
says
stuff
that
today.
investing in the education of international
Non-traditional
students
All right, so
strengthens
we're
the
diving
skilled
into some
labor
really
base
cool stuff
and
today.
thus economic growth in Germany in the
Non-traditional
long term.
All right, so
They
we're
help to
diving into
overcome
some
the
really
challenges
cool
of
stuff
demographic
today.
change.
Mm-hmm.
In
Non-traditional
addition, the investments are
All right,
highly
so we're diving
profitable
into
from
some
a public
really cool
sector
stuff today.
perspective and strengthen public budgets in the
Non-traditional
long term.
It's
All
like
right,
a
so we're
win-win.
diving into
Yeah.
some
He's making
really
a
cool
really
stuff
strong
today.
case for this approach from that economic angle.
All right, so we're
Absolutely,
diving
and
into
what
some
I think
really
is
cool
so
stuff
interesting
today.
is how he directly
Non-traditional
links that
All
investment
right,
in
so we're diving
education
into some really
to
cool
like
stuff today.
real economic benefits.
Non-traditional
Yeah.
Like
All right,
having
so
a
we're diving into
stronger
some
skilled
really cool stuff
workforce,
today.
Mhm.
addressing like
Non-traditional
those demographic
All right,
shifts
so
that
we're
we're
diving
seeing.
into
Right, and
some
so
really
many
cool
developed
stuff
countries
today.
are dealing with that.
Non-traditional
The aging population,
All right,
the
so we're
shrinking
diving into some
workforce.
really
Yeah.
cool stuff
So
today.
international grads, they represent like this
All right,
key
so
pool
we're diving
of
into some really cool
qualified
stuff
people to
today.
step in and help fill those gaps.
Non-traditional
Right, exactly.
All right, so
and
we're
we also
diving
have some
into some
thoughts from
really
the
cool
DAAD
stuff
president,
today.
Dr. Joy Brado Mukherjee.
Non-traditional
Okay.
He adds
All right,
to
so
this,
we're diving
saying,
into some
the
really
new
cool stuff
IW
today.
study impressively demonstrates the
Non-traditional
economic importance
All
of
right, so we're
international
diving into
students for
some
Germany.
really cool stuff today.
Although most universities do not charge
Non-traditional
tuition fees,
All right, so
international
we're
students
diving
make
into some really
significantly
cool
higher
stuff today.
contributions to our society over the course of their
Non-traditional
working lives
All right, so
than
we're
Germany
diving into
invests
some
in
really
their
cool stuff
studies and
today.
beyond.
Right.
International students
non-traditional
are an
All
asset
right, so
to our
we're
country
diving
in
into
many
some
ways,
really cool stuff
academically, of
today.
course, but also economically.
Non-traditional
So this really
All right, so
reinforces
we're
that
diving into
idea
some
that the
really cool
benefits
stuff
go
today.
way beyond just the immediate
Non-traditional
dollars and cents
All right,
calculation.
so we're
Totally.
diving into
Yeah,
some
Dr.
really
Mukherjee
cool
is
stuff
highlighting
today.
all the different ways that these students contribute.
Non-traditional
Yeah.
They bring
All
in
right,
these
so we're diving into some really
diverse
cool stuff
perspectives
today.
to the academic scene.
Non-traditional
And then
All right,
a big
so we're
chunk
diving
of them,
into some
they
really
go
cool
on to
stuff
become
today.
these long-term contributors to
All right,
Germany's
so we're diving
economy and
into
its
some
society,
really cool stuff today.
through their work, through how they
non-traditional
engage.
Yeah,
All right, so we're
absolutely.
diving
So
into
this begs
some
the
really
question,
cool
like,
stuff
what
today.
is it about Germany?
Non-traditional
What makes it so that they
All right,
have
so
this
we're
high
diving
rate
into
of
some really
international
cool
grads
stuff today.
staying there?
Yeah.
So we know that they
Non-traditional
host a lot of
All right,
international
so we're
students.
diving into
The
some
DAAD
really cool
says
stuff
something
today.
like 405,000 are there now.
Non-traditional
Yeah, and
All
what's
right, so
wild
we're
is how
diving
many of
into
them
some really
actually
cool stuff
want to
today.
stay.
Right.
Recent surveys are showing that
All right,
about
so we're diving into some
65%
really cool
of
stuff
international
today.
students in Germany are actually
Non-traditional
planning to stay there
All right,
after
so
they
we're
finish
diving
their
into some
studies.
really cool
Wow.
stuff
So
today.
that intention to stay in the future
All right,
is a
so we're
strong
diving
sign
into some really cool
that they'll
stuff
actually
today.
end up staying long term.
Non-traditional
That is a really high
All right, so we're
percentage.
diving
What
into
do you
some
think is
really
behind
cool
that?
stuff today.
Is it just jobs?
I think it's probably a mix of things.
All right, so we're
So
diving
Germany
into
has got
some
this
really cool stuff
really
today.
strong and diverse economy,
Non-traditional
lots
All
of
right, so we're
opportunities in
diving
different
into some
sectors.
really cool stuff
So
today.
that's attractive to skilled grads.
Non-traditional
Right.
All right, so
And
we're diving
there's
into
this
some really
general
cool stuff
sense
today.
that there's a good work-life balance there.
All right,
high
so we're
standard of
diving
living.
into some really cool stuff
And on top of
today.
that, Germany has been putting in the work to make it
All right, so
easier
we're
for
diving into some
international
really cool
grads
stuff today.
to get into the job market.
Non-traditional
Okay.
All right, so we're
tweaking
diving
visa
into some
rules
really
and
cool
offering
stuff
support
today.
services to help them integrate.
Non-traditional
So all of that probably
right,
plays
so
a
we're
big
diving
role
into
in why
some
the
really cool
retention rates
stuff
are so
today.
high.
Yeah,
non-traditional
for sure. And the report
All right,
also
so we're
brings
diving
up,
into some
some
really cool stuff
outside
today.
validation of Germany's
Non-traditional
success here. The
All right, so
OECD
we're diving into some
in their
really cool
look
stuff
at like
today.
the top study destinations.
Non-traditional
They've said that Germany,
All right,
along
so
with
we're diving
Canada,
into some
actually
really
has
cool
the
stuff
highest
today.
retention rate for international
Non-traditional
grads. Their
All right,
data
so we're
shows
diving
that
into some really
something
cool stuff
like
today.
45% of
Non-traditional
foreign grads
All right, so we're
are
diving into
still
some
living
really
in
cool
Germany
stuff today.
10 years after they first started
Non-traditional
studying there.
All right, so we're
Wow.
diving
That's
into
a
some really
long
cool
time.
stuff today.
That's a long time.
So that long-term
Non-traditional
presence
All
really
right, so
says
we're diving
something
into
about
some
how
really cool stuff
effective
today.
Germany's approach is.
It
Non-traditional
really does.
Yeah.
That
All right, so we're
10-year
diving
mark
into
is a
some
big
really cool
deal
stuff
Yeah.
today.
because it tells us that a lot of these
non-traditional
grads aren't
All right,
just
so we're
hanging around
diving
for a
into
bit
some
after
really
they
cool stuff
graduate.
today.
Right.
They're putting down roots.
Non-traditional
Yeah.
They're building
All right, so we're
careers,
diving into some really cool
families,
stuff today.
lives in Germany.
Non-traditional
And
All right,
that
so we're
level of
diving into some
integration
really cool stuff
is what
today.
ultimately fuels
Non-traditional
that huge
All right,
long-term
so we're
return
diving
on
into
the
some
initial
really cool
investment in
stuff
their
today.
education.
It all comes back around.
non-traditional
And just to give a
All
little
right,
more
so we're
context
diving
on the
into
front
some
end of
really
this,
cool stuff
the
today.
DAAD has also mentioned that they've actually
non-traditional
seen an increase
All right,
recently
so
in
we're
the number
diving
of
into some
international
really cool
students
stuff today.
choosing to study at German universities.
Non-traditional
So they're
All
not
right,
only
so we're
good at
diving
keeping the
into some
grads
really
they've
cool stuff
got,
today.
Yeah.
but they're attracting more and more
non-traditional
international students
All
to
right,
begin
so we're
with.
diving
Exactly.
into
It's
some
like this
really cool stuff
positive
today.
cycle. So a bigger starting
Non-traditional
pool of those
All right,
talented
so we're
international
diving into some
students
really cool
just
stuff
means
today.
there's more potential for a
non-traditional
bigger number
All right,
of
so we're
skilled
diving into some
grads
really
to
cool
stay
stuff
in
today.
Germany,
Right.
contribute to their
non-traditional
economy and their society
All
over
right,
the
so
long
we're diving
haul.
into some
exactly.
really cool stuff
So
today.
when we look at the whole picture here, the
non-traditional
big takeaway is
All right,
that
so we're diving into
Germany's
some really cool
commitment to
stuff
these
today.
international students,
Non-traditional
even without
All right, so
charging
we're
those high
diving into
tuition
some
fees,
really cool
it
stuff
actually
today.
leads to a really significant
non-traditional
financial gain
All right,
over
so we're
time.
diving into
Yeah.
some
This
really
isn't
cool
just
stuff
about
today.
offering education.
Non-traditional
This is like a
All
strategic
right, so
and it
we're
seems
diving
like a
into some
really
really cool stuff
successful
today.
economic policy.
Non-traditional
And a big part of why it
All
works
right,
is
so
that
we're
they're
diving
able
into
to
some
encourage
really cool
these
stuff
talented
today.
folks to stay
Non-traditional
and really
All
contribute
right, so
after
we're
they
diving
graduate.
into some
Yeah,
really
the
cool
evidence
stuff
is pretty
today.
clear that when you look at international students, not
All
just
right,
as
so we're
temporary
diving into
students, but
some
as
really really cool stuff
potential
today.
long-term assets that can
Non-traditional
bring some major
All right,
economic
so we're diving into
benefits
some really cool
to the
stuff
country that
today.
hosts them.
Absolutely. And this leads us to like a really interesting
All right, so
thought
we're
for
diving
everyone
into some
listening.
really cool
What
stuff
can
today.
other countries
Non-traditional
or even just people
All right,
investing
so
in
we're
education,
diving into some really cool
what
stuff
can they
today.
learn from how
Non-traditional
Germany is handling these
All right,
international
so we're diving into
students
some really cool
and how they're
stuff today.
integrating them into the workforce?
Non-traditional
Could this model
All
be
right, so
helpful
we're diving
in
into some
tackling
really
things
cool
like
stuff
those
today.
skilled labor shortages?
Non-traditional
or
All right, so
promoting
we're
more
diving into
economic
some
growth
really
in
cool
other
stuff today.
situations?
It definitely gives us something to think about.
Absolutely,
All right, so
a
we're
lot to
diving into
ponder.
some really
And for
cool
those
stuff
of you who
today.
want to dig deeper into all this, we encourage
Non-traditional
you to
study.
explore
All right, so
some of
we're
these
diving into
related
some
areas.
really cool stuff
You know,
today.
this analysis we've been talking about
Non-traditional
is part of this
study. All right,
bigger
so we're
picture
diving
of
into some really
international
cool stuff
education
today.
trends.
Right.
So you
Non-traditional
might find it interesting
study.
to look
All right,
at
so
how
we're diving into some
study
really cool
abroad
stuff today.
destinations are changing
Non-traditional
globally.
Yeah.
study. All right, so
Or
we're
to
diving
think
into
about the
some really
impact
cool
of
stuff today.
policies in other big countries
Non-traditional
that host a
study.
lot
All
of
right, so
international
we're diving into
students.
some really cool stuff
So
today.
these explorations could give you even more
Non-traditional
insight into this
study. All right,
complex
so we're
and
diving into
ever-changing
some really
world
cool
of
stuff
international
today.
education
Yeah.
and all the big
Non-traditional
economic
study.
implications
All
that
right,
come
so
with
we're
it.
diving into
Awesome.
some
Thanks
really
for
cool
taking
stuff
this
today.
deep dive with us.
Yeah, this is
Non-traditional
great.
Until next
study.
time.
All right, so
See
we're
ya.
diving into some